1. Introduction. Genesis, the opening book of the Old Testament, is crucial in both Judaism and Christianity. Specifically, Genesis chapter 1 describes the creation of the universe and humanity. This chapter lays the groundwork for the entire biblical narrative and has significantly influenced later theological thought. In this video, the content is divided into three main parts: a summary, Catholic interpretations, and Protestant interpretations. 2. Summary of Genesis chapter 1. Genesis chapter 1 offers a chronological overview of God's creation of the world, showcasing order and beauty. The chapter begins with the declaration, "In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth." This verse establishes a vital principle for all Christian denominations. God is the originator of creation. The usage of the Hebrew word for God, Elohim, suggests later Trinitarian interpretations. The earth is described as formless and empty, with darkness covering the deep waters, and the Spirit of God was moving over the waters. This portrayal reflects the chaotic state of the world before God initiated his creative acts, highlighting his subsequent ordering power. The presence of God's Spirit holds important significance in Trinitarian theology. On the first day, God commanded, "Let there be light," creating light and separating it from darkness, calling the light day and the darkness night. This act represents God's initial step in ordering existence, symbolizing clarity and goodness. On the second day, God crafted the expanse, firmament, to divide the waters below from the waters above. This creation further organized the primordial waters into a structured environment. On the third day, God gathered the waters, revealing dry land, which he named earth, and the gathered waters he called seas. God then caused vegetation to sprout from the ground, plants yielding seeds and trees bearing fruit. This day signifies the formation of the physical environment and food sources essential for life. On the fourth day, God created celestial bodies, the sun, moon, and stars, to provide light, separate the day from the night, and mark seasons, days, and years. These heavenly bodies exemplify the order of the cosmos, reflecting God's meticulous design. On the fifth day, God brought forth living creatures from the sea and birds of the air, blessing them to multiply. This day marks the inception of life populating the created environments. On the sixth day, God created land animals, livestock, and all creatures that move on the ground, then fashioned humankind, male and female, in his image, giving them dominion over other living beings. God provided plants for food and declared everything he had made as very good. The creation of humans in God's image signifies a distinct relationship with him and their role as stewards of the earth. The seventh day, described in Genesis 2:1-3, depicts God resting from his work and establishing the Sabbath. This day is often regarded as the culmination of the creation week. God's rest sets a pattern for humanity while signifying the completion and perfection of creation. 3. Catholic interpretation of Genesis chapter 1. The Catholic perspective emphasizes that God is the sole creator of the universe. Catholic theology asserts that God created the universe ex nihilo, from nothing. This belief highlights God's transcendence and sovereignty over all creation. The Catholic Church views Genesis 1 not solely as a literal scientific description, but as imparting profound theological truths about God and creation. This viewpoint allows for harmony between the biblical narrative and scientific findings, as the primary aim of Scripture is to convey spiritual truths. The Catholic Church generally acknowledges scientific conclusions regarding the universe's age and development, seeing them as opportunities for deeper appreciation of the Creator's greatness. Faith and reason coexist, both valid paths to knowledge. In Catholic thought, the term days need not reflect actual 24-hour periods, but may signify longer epochs or symbolic phases of God's creative acts. This interpretation allows for alignment with scientific timelines, emphasizing order and purposefulness in God's creation rather than rigid timeframes. The flexibility regarding the timeline of days frequently appears in Catholic discussions. Catholic theology also emphasizes that both men and women are created in God's image, possessing unique dignity and roles in creation. This doctrine forms a cornerstone of Catholic ethics and anthropology, highlighting the importance of all human life. The concept of the image of God, imago Dei, in humanity's creation is central to Catholic interpretation. The Catholic lens focuses on the order and intentionality of God's creation, wherein every stage is declared good, culminating in humanity's creation, described as very good. This not only reflects God's wisdom but also the inherent worth of the created world. The repeated acknowledgement of goodness in the Genesis narrative is pivotal in Catholic analysis. Some Catholic interpretations recognize implications of the Holy Trinity within the creation account. For example, the plural language in Genesis 1:26, "Let us make mankind in our image, in our likeness," suggests the involvement of multiple persons within the Godhead. This ties the creation story to key Christian doctrine regarding the Trinity. Trinitarian themes appear, albeit not always explicitly, in some Catholic exegesis. Notable insights within the Catholic interpretation include attempts to reconcile faith with reason, positing that truth cannot contradict itself. Both faith and reason should be regarded as valid avenues to knowledge. The acceptance of scientific findings alongside theological views indicates a sophisticated approach, recognizing both forms of understanding. Furthermore, the focus on theological and symbolic elements portrays Genesis 1 as primarily conveying spiritual truths about God, humanity, and their relationship, rather than a precise scientific description of cosmic origins. The symbolic reading of Genesis days and the focus on the why of creation rather than the how supports this perspective. References to early church fathers like Augustine and Origen display a continuity of interpretation within the Catholic tradition, highlighting an age-old tradition of theological reflection on this passage. 4. Protestant interpretation of Genesis. Chapter 1. Protestant interpretations of Genesis. Chapter 1 demonstrate a wide array of understandings, spanning various denominations and theological viewpoints. These interpretations range from strictly literal interpretations, young earth creationism, to more metaphorical or framework theories that view Genesis 1 as a literary form conveying theological truths. This variety reveals a broad spectrum of interpretations within Protestantism. Some Protestant denominations adhere to a literal 6-day, 24-hour creation chronology, often rejecting evolutionary theory. This stance emphasizes God's immediate and direct creative power, as presented in a straightforward reading of the text, supported by groups like Answers in Genesis. Conversely, many Protestants accept scientific evidence for an ancient earth and evolutionary processes, striving to align these findings with the creation account through various theories, such as day-age theory, framework hypothesis, or theistic evolution. These views seek to connect belief in God as the ultimate creator with scientific knowledge, differing on mechanisms and timelines involved. A common theme in many Protestant interpretations is a strong assertion of God's absolute authority during creation, regardless of the specific mechanisms or time frame involved. This focus emphasizes God's supreme control and oversight of the creative process. Many Protestant interpretations highlight God's creation through His spoken word, emphasizing the power and significance of divine communication. This concept is often associated with God's logos, word, and its role in creation, especially within Johannine theology. The repeated phrase, "and God said" in Genesis 1, illustrates this emphasis. Protestant thought generally agrees that humanity, made in God's image, represents the pinnacle of creation, entrusted with stewardship and reflecting God's character. This doctrine shapes Protestant views on human nature, ethics, and environmental responsibilities, often discussing humanity's creation in God's image and the concept of dominion. Even those with strict interpretations recognize the rich theological and spiritual significance of Genesis 1, extending beyond a simple historical account. This highlights the ongoing relevance of Genesis 1 in understanding God's character and humanity's role in the world. Key insights from Protestant interpretations illustrate a broad range of interpretations existing within different denominations, reflecting personal conscience and theological diversity. Varying viewpoints emerge regarding the literal aspects of Genesis 1, including the Earth's age and creation days, alongside perspectives on the relationship with science. Nonetheless, Protestants typically uphold the Bible as the supreme authority, with different interpretations arising from distinct hermeneutical approaches. Frequent references to specific verses and discussions about their meanings illustrate the prominent role of Scripture in Protestant belief. The connection between Genesis 1 and scientific discourse remains a crucial point of conversation within Protestantism, leading to various reconciliations or outright rejection of scientific findings, depending on theological positions. The prevalence of discussions surrounding young Earth creationism, old Earth creationism, and theistic evolution underlines an ongoing engagement with scientific viewpoints. Despite their differences, recurring themes such as God's sovereignty, creation through His Word, and humanity's unique status are consistently emphasized in diverse Protestant interpretations. 5. Conclusion. This video has outlined the essential events of Genesis chapter 1 and examined the variety of interpretations within Catholic and Protestant traditions. Genesis chapter 1 offers a foundational account of the universe's and humanity's origins, informing key Christian doctrines. The Catholic interpretation underscores harmonizing faith with reason, focusing on the theological and symbolic layers in the Genesis narrative. The Catholic Church recognizes scientific advancements as opportunities for deeper insight into the magnificence of God's creation, while often viewing the days of Genesis as symbolic or longer periods of divine creativity. On the other hand, Protestant interpretations span a wide spectrum, from strictly literal interpretations to more metaphorical views reconciling scientific understanding with biblical accounts. The diversity within Protestantism reflects different interpretative methods and theological approaches. Nevertheless, central themes, God's sovereignty, creation through His Word, and the special status of humanity made in God's image, are consistently highlighted across various Protestant interpretations. The interpretation of Genesis chapter 1 remains significant in modern theological discussions, particularly concerning science. It is clear that the depth and intricacy of biblical interpretation, along with the lasting significance of the creation narrative, continue to shape Christian beliefs and their comprehension of the world.